A. Dan Sach Loi Fat Hien. Fan 1 and Fan 6, Lo Hong Logic / Not Chuan Hien Tuong Siu Nien. Fan 1 Noi Arthur, Wound, Cheek Dong Hom Wa Chu Not, and Hung Fan 6 Lai Kim Tra, Battery Compartment, Keen Ko Che Dong Ho Kong Kop. Ka Lin Quan, the old wall clock Arthur had wound every Sunday morning, / the battery compartment was empty. Sua Fan 1 Ton Arthur Kim Tra Dong Ho Va Thay Pin Kai Che Cham. Fan 6 Geologic Dong Ho Dung Pin Va Bo Chi Teet, Spring Under Tension. Fan 1, Fan 2 and Fan 5, Not Chuan Bang Chung. Fan 2 Va Fan 5 Du Noi Evelyn De Koan Don Du Koan, and Hung Fan 1 Ban Dao Chua He Nu Han Dong Nei. Ka Lin Quan, the section I had circled, / read the paragraph you circled. Bo Sung Tai Fan 1 Rang Evelyn Koan Don Du Koan Bang But Chi Kai Dok Trang 17. Fan 2, Not Chuan Mok Thoi John. Come, the next morning, Rachel called, Tao them Motige Kong Kan Thiet. Kai Tsong Teep, the next day, O Fan 4 Va, the next morning, O Fan 5, Lich Trin Kong Kon Kop Tu Nien Voi, Friday's closing, De Nu O Fan 1. Ka Lin Quan, the next morning, Rachel called. Sua Ton, later that afternoon, Rachel called. Fan 4, Lo Hong Logic / Not Chuan Hien Tuong Siu Nien. Ka, the ticking always came when Daniel said something Melissa had never wanted me to hear. Qua Hep Va Mouth Wan Voi Kak Lon Dong Ho Tik O Fan 1 to 3, Von Kung Zay Ra Kai Evelyn Fat Hien Tai Lu Hok Kai Mot Man Su That Kok Lo Ra. Ka Lin Quan, the ticking always came when Daniel said, Sua Ton Kui Lut Rong Han. Tiang Tik Zut Hien Kai Mot Man Su That Shuyan Qua Fien Ban Ka Chuyan Qua Melissa. Fan 4, Nip Cam Suk Tut, Don Jia Na $640,000, Jiaban $458,000 Va Qua Trin Title Company Kung Cap Email Chuyan Sang Jai Tik Tai Chin Ka Lao, Keen Cam Suk Evelyn Tam Tut Jua Hai Chow Treo. Don Lin Quan Bat Dao 2, my house had recently been estimated. Bo Sung Non Noi Tom Qua Evelyn V Ngoi Na Ma Ba Va Arthur De Tra GOP, Sua Chua Va Jin Junya Thap KY, Kong Them Tin Teet Moi. Fan 5, Not Chuan Bang Chung, Don Nak Kevin Doyle, Hoa Don Qua Diar. Caroline Hayes Va On Qua Linda by Nantan Emoticum, De Keen Nuoi Ne Hu Nam Ca Ba Bang Chung Kung Fan Bac Mot Tai Lu Trong Kung Gay. Tuk Te Kevin plus BACSI Lin Quan POA Gay May 8th, Con on Linda Lin Quan Seller Intent Gay May 12th. Don Lin Quan, Kevin Doyle, had no appointment record. My doctor's receipt. Linda's photo, Sua de GHIRO Tung Gay Va Tung Tai Lu. Fan 5 and Fan 6, Not Chuan Mok Thoi John. Fan 5 Ban Dao Noi, by 8 the next morning, we were in her office. And Hung Fan 6 Lai Noi Daniel Don Evelyn Luke 9:45 a.m., Muat Safi Luke 10:07 Va Veo Toa Na Rachel Luke 10:16 Kung Chin Bui Sang Du. Hai Mok Kong the Dong Doi Dung. Ka Lin Quan, by 8 the next morning, Sua Fan 5 Ton, by 11 the next morning, Jung Gwin Chui Bang Chung 9:45 10:07 10:16/10:20 Fan 6. Fan 6, Lo Hong Logic / Lap Han Dong Fap Ly, Trong Kung Fan, Rachel De Gui, my written revocation of Daniel's power of attorney, and Hung Vi Tuan Sao Lai, helped me revoke every financial authority Daniel had, Ne Nu Vik Thursday Hoi Doak Tu Kien Hai Lan. Ka Lin Quan, in the weeks that followed, Sua Ton Rachel Jup Evelyn Hon Tat Thursday Tuc Thursday Hoi, Thong Bao Kak to Chuk Lin Quan Va Zay Lai Estate Plan. Ghi Chu Kim Tra, Kong Fat Hien Loi Doi 10/Quan He Nan Vat, Kong Ko So Lu Bang Chung Chin By Doi, Kong Ko Cliffhanger Now 2 Fan 1 to 5 U Den Muc Phi Thay Tin Teet, Kong Ko Kum Cam Suk Lap Qua Hai Lon Theo Kio Gay Ko Chiu. Fan 6 Ban Dao Van Nam Trong Nguang Kim Tra 500 to 752. And Hung Ban Sua Doak Mo Rong Rat Ne O Koan Kok Riang Tu Koi De Dong Bo Chuan 550 to 702 Qua Series Ma Kong Them Tin Teet Moi. B. Ban Trian Da Sua Hon Chin. I am not confused, and I am not leaving my home just because my daughter-in-law decided I was too old to understand what she put in front of me. I said those words out loud in my kitchen, though no one was there to hear them. The house was quiet except for the old wall clock Arthur had checked every Sunday morning for 35 years, replacing the battery whenever it began to slow. It had stopped the week after he died, yet that afternoon, just as my phone began to ring, I heard it tick once. Only once. I remember staring at it before answering. "Mrs. Whitmore?" a man asked. His name was Thomas Green, and he said he was calling from Buckeye Title Services in Columbus. His voice was polite, almost cheerful. "I wanted to confirm whether you'd like the proceeds wired after Friday's closing, or if you'll be picking up a cashier's check." I tightened my hand around the phone. "What closing?" There was a pause. A long one. "The closing on your property on Willow Creek Drive." I looked toward the front window, past the hydrangeas Arthur had planted, past the porch where Daniel used to leave his muddy sneakers when he was 12. "Mr. Green," I said slowly, "I live on Willow Creek Drive." Another silence. Then he asked a question that made the room feel suddenly smaller. "Mrs. Whitmore, where are you planning to move?" I never answered. Less than an hour later, Melissa's silver SUV pulled into my driveway. That bothered me almost as much as the call. I had not contacted Daniel. I had not contacted her. Yet somehow Melissa already knew. She walked into my kitchen carrying the same calm smile she used whenever she wanted something to sound harmless. Daniel followed behind her, shoulders slightly bent, eyes fixed on the floor. "Evelyn," Melissa said, "there's been a misunderstanding. A title company thinks I'm selling my house. It's part of the planning we discussed." "We discussed selling my home?" Daniel finally looked at me, but only for a second. Melissa reached across the table and touched the folder beside my hand. "You signed everything weeks ago." There was no accusation in her voice. That was what made it worse. She spoke as if she were explaining something simple to a forgetful child. "You probably just don't remember all the details." I felt something inside me harden. Not anger exactly. Something quieter. Arthur used to tell me that whenever someone rushed me through paperwork, I should slow down twice as much. 6 weeks earlier, Melissa had brought me a thick stack of documents and said they were for emergencies, so Daniel could help with insurance and medical matters if I ever became sick. Yellow stickers marked the places she wanted my signature. I had trusted them. That night, after Daniel and Melissa left, I took the folder from the drawer where I kept my tax records. 28 pages. I read every one. Most of it was dense legal language. Then, halfway down page 17, I found words I did not remember anyone explaining to me: sell, convey, transfer, or encumber real property. I circled the paragraph in pencil, though I understood only enough to know it reached far beyond healthcare. My stomach tightened. I kept reading until I reached the notarization page. The date was May 8th. The time was 2:15 p.m. I stared at it for several seconds because on May 8th at 2:15, I had been sitting in Dr. Caroline Hayes's office 11 miles away, waiting for a routine appointment. I had the receipt in my purse. I had the appointment card on my refrigerator. And I had never met the notary whose name appeared beneath my signature. Then the dead wall clock behind me ticked a second time. This time, I stared at the name printed beneath the notary seal, Kevin Doyle. If I had never met him, who had made it appear that I had? I did not sleep much that night. I kept the notarization page on the kitchen table, facing up, as if the ink might rearrange itself if I looked away. Once or twice before dawn, the old wall clock gave a single dry tick, never enough to move the hands, just enough to remind me it was there. Arthur had bought that clock at an estate sale outside Dayton the year Daniel started kindergarten. He used to joke that it ran better when someone in the house was telling the truth. I had laughed at him then. At 72, sitting alone under the yellow kitchen light, I was not laughing. By 9 the next morning, I was parked outside Rachel Bennett's office 7 miles away in Worthington. Rachel was an elder law attorney recommended by my neighbor Linda Parker, who had known me since our boys played Little League together. Rachel had silver-framed glasses, a measured voice, and the kind of patience that made you feel foolish for ever apologizing. She read the 28 pages without interrupting me. When she finally looked up, her expression had changed. "Evelyn, this is not just a healthcare authorization." She turned the document toward me and tapped the section I had circled. "This is a durable financial power of attorney. It gives Daniel authority over certain financial matters, including real estate." My throat tightened. "Can he sell my house?" "Potentially. But authority is not the same thing as unlimited authority." She asked whether I had signed in front of a notary. I told her no. Whether I remembered a man named Kevin Doyle. I did not. Whether Melissa had explained anything about property transfers. Again, no. Rachel made copies, then asked me not to confront anyone yet. If something improper happened, we learn more by seeing what they do next. That sentence stayed with me all afternoon. At 3:12, Melissa texted me. "Daniel says you're upset again. Please don't work yourself up over paperwork you already approved." Again. That word was deliberate. 10 minutes later, Daniel called. His voice was soft. "Mom, Melissa says you forgot we talked about downsizing. Did you hear me say I wanted to sell?" He hesitated. "She said we all discussed it. Did you hear me say it?" Another pause. "I don't know, Mom. There were a lot of conversations." I stared at Arthur's chair across the kitchen. For the first time, I understood that Melissa was not only trying to move paper. She was trying to move memory. Make mine look unreliable. Make Daniel trust her version more than mine. Before we hung up, Daniel said something that hurt more than I expected. "Maybe you should let us handle this so you don't get overwhelmed." I almost answered sharply. Instead, I wrote his exact words in a spiral notebook Rachel had told me to keep. Then the clock ticked once. I looked up. The hands still pointed to 6:40, where they had been frozen for months. Later that afternoon, Rachel called. Her voice was tighter this time. "I received the purchase file from Buckeye Title. And there is another document attached to the contract. It's called a statement of seller intent." I gripped the phone. "What does it say?" "That you personally requested the sale, that you understood the price, and that you wanted Daniel to act on your behalf." I closed my eyes. I never signed anything like that. Rachel went quiet. "Evelyn," she said, "there is a signature on it. Yours." For several seconds, I could hear nothing but the faint hum of Rachel's office line and the blood beating in my ears. "Send it to me," I said. The document arrived less than a minute later. I opened it on my laptop at the kitchen table and stared at the signature near the bottom. It looked like mine. The long loop in the E. The slight tilt in Whitmore. Even the way the final stroke trailed downward. My first thought frightened me more than I wanted to admit. What if I had signed it? What if Melissa was right about my memory? Then the wall clock ticked 3 times in a row. I looked up so fast my chair scraped the floor. 3 ticks. The hands did not move. Arthur used to tap 3 times on the kitchen doorframe whenever he came home carrying groceries and wanted me to open it with my elbow. 3 little knocks had been our private signal for almost 40 years. I told myself grief could make ordinary sounds feel important. Then I looked back at the signature and noticed something Rachel had underlined. The statement of seller intent was dated May 12th. "Where were you that day?" Rachel asked when I called her back. I opened the calendar beside the refrigerator. Dentist appointment at 10:30. Lunch with Linda at Miller's Diner at noon. Grocery receipt from Kroger at 1:47. Linda had taken a photo of us outside the diner because a robin had built a nest above the awning and she wanted to send it to her granddaughter. The timestamp was 12:38 p.m. The seller intent claimed I had signed at home at 12:45. Linda's photo placed me nearly 9 miles away 7 minutes earlier. I drove to Rachel's office with the receipt, appointment card, and Linda's photo printed at the pharmacy. Rachel studied everything, then asked a question I had not expected. Has Melissa ever been inside your house when you weren't here? I thought about it. Then I remembered Linda mentioning something weeks earlier. Melissa had come by one afternoon while I was visiting my sister in Westerville. She told Linda she needed to pick up some of Arthur's old financial papers. That evening, I checked the small oak desk Arthur had used for bills and taxes. Nothing looked disturbed. But one drawer stuck halfway open. Inside were old bank statements, warranty papers, and a folder containing copies of my previous signatures from tax returns and insurance forms. I felt cold despite the 78-degree afternoon. Rachel did not accuse anyone. She simply photographed the folder and told me to leave everything exactly where it was. Then she called Buckeye Title and requested the digital file history for the seller intent. That request triggered immediate resistance. Someone had already instructed the title company not to share additional records with me without Daniel's approval. But it's my house, I said. Rachel's mouth tightened. Which means someone is trying very hard to control the flow of information. That evening, Daniel came by alone. He looked exhausted. I asked him one question. Did you ever see me sign a paper saying I wanted to sell this house? He rubbed both hands over his face. Melissa said I was there. That's not what I asked. His eyes met mine. I don't remember seeing you sign it. The clock behind him ticked once. Daniel turned toward the sound. Mom. I thought that thing was broken. Before I could answer, Rachel called. She had gotten the metadata. Her first words were barely above a whisper. Evelyn, the file was created 3 days after the date printed on the document. I gripped the phone. Created where? Rachel paused. On a computer registered under the username Whitmore. The name Whitmore sat on Rachel's screen like an accusation, but something about it felt too easy. Melissa Whitmore. One initial. One last name. A trail almost designed to be found. Don't assume it proves she created the file, Rachel warned me. A username tells us where it came from, not who was sitting at the keyboard. For the first time since the title company called, I wondered whether I had been looking in the wrong direction. Daniel stood in my kitchen, pale and silent, staring at the dead clock. Then he said, Melissa uses my laptop sometimes. I turned toward him. Your laptop? He nodded. The username on Daniel's home computer was Whitmore because Melissa had set it up years ago under her own initial. That did not clear Daniel. It made everything worse. Either one of them could have created the document. Rachel told me we needed to stop chasing signatures and follow the money. By noon the next day, she had pulled the purchase terms. My house had recently been estimated at roughly $640,000 based on comparable homes nearby. The contract price was $458,000. Nearly $182,000 below that figure. There had been no public listing. No open house. No independent appraisal that I had authorized. Just a cash buyer called Oak Ridge Property Group LLC. The number itself hurt less than what it meant. Arthur and I had spent decades paying for that house, room by room, repair by repair. Now someone had treated it like inventory to be cleared before I could object. Why would anyone acting in your best interest accept that price? Rachel asked. I already knew the answer. They would not. Thomas Green at Buckeye Title finally agreed to release a set of emails after Rachel formally challenged Daniel's authority. One message made my hands shake. Melissa had asked whether the proceeds could be divided, with parts sent to something she called a family transition account. Daniel read the email twice. I've never heard of that account. I watched his face carefully. For days, I had wondered whether his uncertainty was an act. Now I saw something I recognized from childhood, the expression he wore when he realized he had trusted the wrong person. What did you sign? I asked. Daniel swallowed. Melissa told me you wanted to move into a retirement community before winter. She said you were embarrassed to admit the house was becoming too much. My chest tightened, but I kept my voice steady. And you believed her without asking me? His eyes dropped. I signed some papers. The clock ticked once. Daniel flinched. Then twice more. 3 taps. Our old signal. But this time I noticed something I had missed before. The ticking seemed to come whenever some piece of truth broke through Melissa's version of events. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe grief had simply trained my ears to search for Arthur in quiet rooms. Either way, I stopped fearing the sound. I began listening to it. That afternoon, Rachel called with the ownership records for Oak Ridge. The managing member was a man named Eric Sloan. Daniel went completely still. You know him, I said. He came to our house for dinner last year, Daniel whispered. Melissa said he was just someone she knew from real estate. Then his expression changed. Mom, I remember something else. He sat down slowly. After Eric left that night, Melissa asked me a strange question. The clock ticked before he spoke. Daniel looked directly at me. She asked, if you sold this house, would every dollar legally belong to you? Daniel's question changed everything. Not because of what Melissa had asked, but because of when she had asked it. Months before she ever brought those papers to my kitchen table. Months before she started saying the house was too much for me. Rachel moved fast after that. So did I. By 11 the next morning, we were in her office with Daniel sitting across from us, his hands locked together so tightly his knuckles had gone white. Rachel had found Eric Sloan's connection to Melissa. Oak Ridge Property Group planned to buy my house for $458,000, make minor cosmetic repairs, then resell it near market value. But that was only the surface. A second business, registered under a different name, had a consulting agreement tied to the resale. Rachel slid the paper toward Daniel. Do you recognize this company? He stared at it. Then shook his head. Who owns it? Rachel looked at me before answering. Melissa. The room went silent. The agreement called for a payment of $72,000 after resale, described as consulting and referral compensation. Daniel pushed back from the table as if the chair had suddenly become too small. She never told me. Did she tell you the house was being sold below market? Rachel asked. She said cash buyers expect a discount. Did she tell you she would personally profit? Daniel covered his face. No. My anger should have felt satisfying. It did not. I only felt tired. My son had signed papers because his wife told him a story about me, and he had accepted that story because it was easier than asking me the truth. Then Rachel opened another file. The seller intent had been created after its printed date. Kevin Doyle, the notary listed on the May 8 power of attorney, had no appointment records showing I had appeared before him at 2:15 p.m. Dr. Caroline Hayes's receipt placed me 11 miles away. Linda's May 12 photo separately contradicted the seller intent. Piece after piece. Too many coincidences to ignore. Too carefully arranged to be accidental. But Rachel still had one problem. Daniel's power of attorney did contain language allowing certain real estate transactions. Melissa had counted on that. She had counted on everyone seeing the broad authority and stopping there. Rachel handed me my copy. Read the paragraph you circled. I did. Slowly. Then faster. The wording was dense, but the meaning became clear. Daniel could act for me, yes. But not in a transaction that created a direct or indirect financial benefit for him or his spouse unless I separately approved that benefit in writing after full disclosure. I looked at Rachel. There isn't another consent form. Not one we've seen. Daniel whispered, she thought nobody would read this far. I heard myself answer before I could stop it. She thought I wouldn't. The wall clock at home seemed impossibly far away. Then my phone rang. It was Linda. Her voice was shaky. Evelyn, I'm standing in your kitchen. I had given her a spare key years ago. Your clock, she said. It's running. I froze. What? The hands are moving. Evelyn, it's showing 4:37. Rachel looked at her own clock. 4:37 p.m. exactly. Then Thomas Green called on the second line. Rachel answered, listened, and her face drained of color. She covered the receiver and looked at me. The buyer's attorney just refused to postpone. When is closing? I asked. Rachel looked at the fine print again. 9 tomorrow morning. Then Thomas said something else. Rachel went completely still. Evelyn, she whispered, someone filed one more document today. And this one claims you personally approved Melissa's $72,000 payment. The new document was almost perfect. Almost. It carried my name, my address, and another version of my signature. It even said I had been fully informed that Melissa would receive $72,000 after Oak Ridge resold my house. Rachel read it twice. Then she pointed to the date. It claimed I had signed it that morning at 10:20. I looked at Daniel. I was with you at 10:20. His face changed. He had picked me up for Rachel's office at 9:45. We had stopped for coffee. His debit card receipt showed 10:07. Rachel's building security log showed us entering together at 10:16. More importantly, the document listed Kevin Doyle as the notary again. Rachel called him immediately. This time, Kevin did not hesitate. He confirmed he had not notarized anything for me that day. Rachel sent everything to Thomas Green. The disputed signatures. The conflicting timestamps. The hidden consulting agreement. My written revocation of Daniel's power of attorney. The clause Melissa had missed. Then Daniel signed a statement confirming he had never disclosed Melissa's financial interest to me because he had not known it existed himself. By 7:30 that evening, Buckeye Title froze the closing. Oak Ridge's attorney withdrew the next morning. The sale stopped. But Melissa still came to my house. She stood in my kitchen with her purse held tightly against her side and told me I was destroying Daniel's future over technicalities. I looked at her and felt strangely calm. No, Melissa. You built your plan on the belief that I wouldn't read what you gave me. She glanced toward Daniel. He did not defend her. He only said, you lied to me too. That was the moment something finally broke between them, quietly and completely. The old wall clock ticked once. Melissa stared at it. I thought that clock didn't work. It doesn't, I said. She left without another word. In the weeks that followed, Rachel helped me formalize the revocation, notify the institutions that mattered, and rebuild my estate plan with independent safeguards. Daniel apologized more than once. I accepted the apology, but not the old arrangement. Love was still there. Trust would have to earn its way back. The false documents were turned over to the appropriate authorities and attorneys. Eric Sloan disappeared from the deal. Melissa's $72,000 payment never happened. A month later, I finally opened the back of Arthur's clock. I wanted to know what had made it tick. The answer should have been simple. A loose contact. A dying battery. Something ordinary. Instead, the battery compartment was empty. No battery. No corrosion. Nothing that should have powered those hands at all. Behind the wooden panel was a folded piece of paper in Arthur's handwriting. Just one sentence, Evie, when something feels wrong, read every word. I sat down on the kitchen floor and laughed through tears I had been holding for months. For a long moment, I stayed there with Arthur's note in my hand, listening to the ordinary silence of a home that finally felt like mine again. I still cannot explain why the clock moved to 4:37 that afternoon, or why it ticked whenever the truth slipped through. Maybe grief gives meaning to coincidence. Maybe love leaves echoes in places we refuse to abandon. I only know this. The clock never ticked again, and I never signed another page without reading the fine print.